Welcome to the Functional Aesthetician podcast. I'm your host, Samantha Dench. Today's special guest is Dr. Jaday Garcia, a board-certified doctor of natural medicine and functional medicine practitioner. We are going to talk about chronic stress, nervous system regulation, PCOS, and root cause healing. Before we get to today's interview, let me introduce Dr. Jaday. Dr. Jaday Garcia is a board-certified doctor of natural medicine, functional medicine practitioner, and founder of MindBody Restored. Her work combines advanced training with lived experiences, navigating complex health patterns, including PCOS, PMDD, MACAS, ADHD, and supporting family members with conditions such as PANS, PANDAS, EDS, POTS, and immune challenges. These experiences shaped a grounded understanding of how stress physiology and daily life interact over time. She works with individuals and families who have tried conventional approaches, yet still feel overwhelmed or unwell, using a natural, functional, whole systems perspective to clarify patterns and identify supportive next steps. When appropriate, targeted functional testing is used to guide decisions with insight rather than guesswork. Hi, Dr. Garcia. Welcome to the Functional Aesthetician podcast.
Hi, how are you, Samantha?
Good. I'm really excited for our conversation today.
Me too. I've been looking forward to it.
I'm going to have you start off by introducing yourself and share a little background of how you got started and how you got to where you are today.
My name is Jaday Garcia, and I am a board-certified doctor of natural medicine and a functional medicine practitioner. And I have really struggled with my health most of my life. I started with PCOS, PMDD, chronic fatigue, and I was just handed a prescription, but never really a lot of hope or explanation. And eventually, my daughter got sick with pandas, and same thing happened again. And it led me to this desire to figure it out and went back to school. And now here I am with my own practice.
I love how your struggles brought you to functional medicine.
Yeah, there's always something that we can learn from our struggles. Nobody
Absolutely.
wants struggles, but
I almost feel like they're gifts. In the moment, you're like, why me? But then when you're out of it and you kind of look back, it's okay, this was a gift because it took me from where I was to be able to help more people.
yeah, and I find that when I go through something bad or a big struggle, I look in hindsight, I'm like, what can I actually learn from this? How can I
Right.
use this to help others? Because if not, then it was pointless.
All right. So the reason I wanted to have you on here is because I want to talk about the connection between our nervous system and healing versus disease.
Yes, yes. That is something that it's so important, and a lot of people don't realize that you can't get better if you don't treat both. If your
Right.
nervous system is acting up and you're stuck in fight or flight mode, doesn't matter what you do, you're not really gonna get better.
No, it's so true. I mean, our nervous system controls everything.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Our entire body.
And I think most people look at the symptoms and they go to the doctor, they get a pill, they don't realize like it's deeper than that.
Well, I mean, in my experience and with the women that I have helped, the doctors seem to be a little bit dismissive about the nervous system work. I think that the word itself, nervous system, it's a little bit elusive, and maybe it sounds a little, wacky or very holistic, but it is scientifically accurate, and
Right.
and we have to work with it and help our nervous system get to a point where we can actually heal.
Yeah, get to the root cause. And I want to
Exactly.
talk a little bit about your struggles because you mentioned you had PCOS and PMDD. Like, what were some of the diagnoses that you received? And, what did you find, studying functional medicine and in your own health journey? Like, how did you overcome some of those challenges?
I got diagnosed with PCOS. I remember it was after I had my oldest daughter, and I was 25. And honestly, I should have been diagnosed when I was a teen because looking back, I had all the symptoms. And I surprisingly got diagnosed through a dermatologist because I went for the acne and the excess facial hair, and she was like, wait a
Right.
minute, let me test. So it was a great derm.
Wow.
She saved me. And then from there, it was endocrinologist, thyroid nodules, the weight gain, the fatigue was horrible for me. And then I also had migraines. I suffer from chronic migraines, but it was connected to the PCOS and the hormones for me. So I'm much
Right.
better, thankfully. And yeah, I listened. I did what I was told. I took the birth control, I took the metformin, but I wasn't really getting anywhere. And there
Right.
wasn't really a lot of hope. I started reading about insulin resistance and that insulin resistance diet. And then with the diet, I saw some changes. And that's how eventually, little by little, it led me to this whole holistic approach and learning what I know now.
And that's another key component. I feel like we look at PCOS and we think, oh, it's a hormonal problem, but we don't realize how it impacts insulin resistance. And that's such a big component of it.
Yeah, it is. And PCOS is not just a hormonal problem. And
Right.
I feel like a lot of women are being diagnosed with PCOS now,
Hmm.
and it's even more common, but it's also not widely explained or understood.
Hmm.
It affects way more than just facial hair and weight gain, and
Right.
fertility. It can cause anxiety, depression, migraines, chronic fatigue, the infertility. It happened to me. I had
Mhm.
secondary infertility because of my PCOS, and it's just so much that it affects.
Yeah.
And you can't heal it. You're not gonna get better just by taking birth control. You can mask it, but you're
Right.
not touching the root of the problem.
So what was your biggest like healing aha with your PCOS?
Okay, so I mean, it's been a long time. I'm
Yeah.
39 now, so it's been a long time. Um, but to be honest, the biggest thing for me has been the diet change and completely overhauling my lifestyle. I learned to not push through my exhaustion. I learned to work with my body, not against it. I do take some amazing natural supplements that help me a lot. Every once in a while, I do get a flare, especially if I've been eating horribly or something, because
Right.
really there's no cure. We're not here offering cures, but
Right.
overall, my symptoms are not really there compared to before. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a holistic approach, really.
Absolutely. I love what you just said. We push through. And as women, I feel like that's something we are just, it's like ingrained in us. It's like you have that symptom, just push it down and push through. You'll get through it. You'll get through it. And I feel like that's the basis of a lot of these issues that women have.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I actually recently had a video on Instagram that went a little bit viral, and it was
Really?
essentially calling out that the woman who's struggling with chronic fatigue was once the most capable woman. She was the highest achieving woman, the one everyone could count on. And suddenly her body stopped responding. And I know that because I was that woman. I am that woman by nature. I'm like a perfectionist type of person, and I'm like a go-getter, and I want to get it done. And sometimes that ends up hurting us because we push down our symptoms on our body. I like to say it's whispering at first.
Yep.
So it starts with a whisper, right? Like it could be a headache, or oh man, I'm waking up tired, or I'm having some mood swings. But eventually it's going to scream, and we want to catch it before it's screaming because it's easier. Yeah.
But I think a lot of times we get caught up in those like, oh, it's just a headache. Oh, it's just a little, I'm just tired. I didn't sleep well. But really,
Yeah.
like over time, those things build and then all of a sudden it hits you like a brick wall.
Exactly. We gaslight ourselves, just like
Yep.
we get gaslit by, medical doctors sometimes, not even on purpose, but it's just they don't have the time sometimes to, really look into all of these symptoms and lifestyle changes that need to be done. So
Right.
we get gaslit, and we kind of gaslight ourselves like, oh, maybe this is just what being 35 feels like, you know?
Right.
Maybe I'm older, or maybe it's because of the weather. I don't know. We lie to ourselves, and really we have to listen to our bodies because it's screaming for help.
And I think even women 35 and over, I feel like now everyone just blames it on perimenopause, but it's not always perimenopause. It might look like those symptoms, but it's not. It's chronic fatigue. It's all these other things that are finally coming to the surface.
You touched on a really good point. I'm smiling because I've been studying up so much about perimenopause, and really it's a label that's being handed out a lot lately. But when it comes down to it, as we know, as functional medicine practitioners, it's like, is it perimenopause or is it that your hormones are out of control? And does the name and label even matter? Let's
Right.
actually help your body and let's get those hormone levels where they're supposed to be, because it can't be that all of us are having perimenopause 10 years earlier. Like that's insane. That's not what happens. It's our hormones are out of whack and they're just giving it the title perimenopause.
Yeah. And the other thing, which I know you know this, gut health plays a huge role in all these symptoms.
Yeah, way more than you think, and it's something that sounds scary to people when you talk about the gut. So the gut really affects our brain, it affects our hormones, it affects everything. So I have found with the women that I've worked with that a lot of them are dealing with gut dysbiosis, or they have a food intolerance that they don't know, or they have parasites. I've seen that a lot lately too. So the gut is most of the time where we start, whether it's a hormonal issue or even a mood issue, the gut mostly has the answers.
Yeah. So do you start with gut testing on most of your clients?
To be honest, with the majority of them, the gut testing has to be a part of it, because if your gut is, for example, if you have leaky gut, it doesn't matter what supplements I tell you to take, it's not going to
Right.
work. You know what I
Right.
mean? It doesn't matter how much breath work you do, it's not going to work. So it is a huge component of what I do. Obviously, it's a case by case situation, but the gut testing, I feel like everyone, like I'm talking from child to elderly, needs a gut test to figure out what's going on.
100%. I can't agree with you more. I want to circle back a little bit because you also mentioned when you were introducing yourself that your daughter was diagnosed with pandas. So, can we talk a little bit about that? Because I feel like a lot of our listeners, they might have heard that term, but they're not really aware of what that actually is.
Yeah, I try to raise awareness about that because I mean, it's becoming more known now,
Right.
but it's basically a child can get strep, or it could be the flu or any virus really. And then suddenly they start developing OCD, they start developing anxiety, mood issues, pickiness with their eating, their handwriting regresses, their math skills regress. And a lot of these kids are labeled as mentally ill, or they start throwing all the letters, like the ADHD, the OCD, all the letters. And really, the root cause of it is inflammation in the brain due to that strep or whatever other virus that happened. And when the kids get the correct treatment, they come back to themselves and you get your kid back. So it's so important to look into that and research if you have a child with any sort of mental condition, a child that changed overnight, even if it happened over a couple of weeks, it's still worth checking.
So, what kind of tests can they run? If there's a mom listening, going, "Ooh, I think this might be what could be going on with my daughter or son." What would be their first step?
Well, their first step would be to find a functional medicine doctor. Some neurologists are very aware of it, and there's some great also functional medicine psychiatrists out there. And it's really a diagnosis that it's not necessarily always going to show up in labs, but you do want to check for the viral load on your body. So you want to check to make sure that the antibodies for the strep are gone, because if it's been a while and those antibodies are still high up, then it's a signal that there's something else going on. But more than anything, for me, and I'm only talking about personally with my daughter, because I would bring it up to doctors and it was always dismissed. It wasn't really addressed or believed, but I knew that there was something else at play just because I read so much about it. And one of the things that I read in a website about this, like with other moms, because we connect and find each other, was like,
Right.
try giving your kid Advil and see if the symptoms get better. And I did that, and it was like she felt better, and a lot of the OCD thoughts
Wow.
would go away. So I'm like, okay, there's definitely some inflammation here going on.
Mhm.
And then I persisted until I found a great functional medicine doctor that helped me put it together. And at the end, it was prednisone and a really strong course of antibiotics, and she came back.
That's amazing. And she's good now,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, she is good. We are dealing with some other health issues because sadly, it took so long to get the diagnosis, right? And so she suffered for many years. But no, her life, it's night and day compared to how it was. And she's she's a normal 15-year-old, amazing, thriving young woman now.
I love that. So I want to talk a little bit deeper about functional testing and getting testing because we've touched on that a little bit, but I really want to drive home the functional testing and the importance of why that could be such a crucial piece because a lot of people think I'll just go to my doctor and get some blood work. But like what is the difference? Like why should we do functional testing in addition to blood work?
Yeah, so the blood work that your doctor sends can definitely show you a pattern, and it does help. And a lot of times, my clients will bring their blood work, and I can look through it and start getting some of the information. But really, what we're talking about is more specialized functional testing that your doctor's not going to send, because first of all, most of the time the insurance doesn't cover it. It's highly specialized, and like the gut test and things like that. And it's not even so much about the testing, but it's about actually having the knowledge and what to look for.
Right.
And we're not looking for the normal range of results. Our numbers are not the conventional numbers. We're looking at the best numbers. And so it's about knowing how to read it more than anything.
Do you do hormone testing or do you mostly do gut testing?
I do hormone testing, especially. I've had some amazing clients that have been dealing with infertility, so it does come into play. Especially because I mostly help women. Yes, of course, we do deal with the hormones eventually, but it's like it goes in phases. That's the way that I work. I go in
Right.
phases, and we deal with like what's on fire first
Mhm.
before we then start with the other concerns.
I agree. I start with gut too, because I feel like if you heal the gut, a lot of those hormone problems actually resolve on their own.
Yes, yes, yes. The gut, for me, like I would say it's the gut and insulin. Now we're calling Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes, because
Right.
there's definitely a connection there between
Yeah.
the gut, the way our body deals with insulin, and our brain.
And I feel like insulin resistance is so undiagnosed.
It's underdiagnosed for sure. There's so many women that have it, but they don't find out that they have it. And a simple insulin test is not going to tell you if you're insulin resistant,
Right.
because it's just like at that moment in time, what was your level. So it's very important to dig deeper and figure out
Mhm.
what's going on with your insulin, because it's it's a driver for so many of the issues that us women we experience.
And especially, I work with a lot of women, 35 up as well. And I feel like weight gain is the number one sign. It's like, I'm exercising, I'm eating right, I'm doing all the right things. I have the most restrictive diet. Like, why can't I lose weight? It's right there in front of our faces and nobody's paying attention to it.
Yes, that's true. That's definitely a sign. As somebody that dealt with insulin resistance for so long, I think another sign that a lot of women don't realize is feeling like very fatigued after eating. Like those crashes, that's not normal.
Yeah.
So it's something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, definitely. And I do want to talk a little bit more about chronic fatigue because I feel like that is such an issue for women.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't discriminate, that's for sure. But I
Right.
do find that a lot of women have been struggling more and more with the chronic fatigue, and a lot of them don't know where to start, where it started, what to do. And it's something that it's hard to get unless you've been through it, because a lot of people think it's like, oh, well, she's tired, I'm tired too. But it's not being tired. It's wanting to do something and your body just physically cannot respond. It's having a conversation and it drains you for the rest of the day. It's having to plan out if you're going to do an activity, how many days you're going to need to rest after and before. I mean, it's another level of tired, and I wish more people understood that so that they could hold some space and have grace for the women that are struggling with it.
So when you have women come to you with chronic fatigue, like what would be something you'd do with them?
I have a guide that I made that you can find on my Instagram. And it's a great starting point for chronic fatigue because I really am so passionate about helping. So this is something that you could do. It's free and you can start at home. You don't have to buy anything. But really it starts with calming our nervous system, like we were talking about, because it's not that chronic fatigue is in your head. No, it's very real and it's a physical problem. But the majority of the women dealing with that or long COVID, the nervous system aspect is certainly there, and it's stuck in fight or flight mode because it's been there for so long, and until you calm that system down, it's really hard to get your body to respond. So I usually, aside from the testing, it goes hand in hand with the nervous system work. So that's kind of the process that I do. I guide them with both. It's not just about finding out the root cause. It's about how can we help both your mind, your body, your nervous system so that you could get yourself back to feeling like yourself.
Because we both know the body can't heal if your nervous system is dysregulated.
Yes, absolutely not. It cannot.
And you have a book coming out. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So this book is not really about my practice, but it's a book about my experience as a mom to a child with PANS and PANDAS, and really it's more like a companion guide for moms that are dealing with children with complex illnesses. It's not a medical book or anything like that. It's more like hand holding and just giving you hope because you can find a way to be joyful even if your child is sick. And it is hard to say that because nobody wants a child that's sick, but sadly it happens. And we need to find a way to still raise these kids and find joy in their lives and our lives.
And still take care of you, because when our kids are sick, we drop everything for them. We stop taking care of ourselves.
Literally, yes. But the book is for the mom because we go through so much and we just turn on that protection mode and we just go and do what we need to do. And yeah, that's one of the things that led to my chronic fatigue because I gave it so much and I felt like I had to, and I didn't take the time for me, and I didn't take a break, and I pushed my body to the limit. So these moms have to, as hard as that sounds, because it is hard when you're dealing with that, if we don't help ourselves, then eventually we're going to crash and we're not going to be able to help our children at all.
Do you have a publishing date?
I just got the cover back, so we're finalizing those details. But in my Instagram, MindBody Restored, I'll be giving an update on that. But super excited about that.
Yeah. That's super exciting. Before we close, do you have any advice for our listeners that they can start implementing today?
Yeah, I would say one of the simplest ways to start helping your nervous system is actually when you wake up in the morning, don't just jump out of bed. Take a moment. Don't look at your phone either. Just take a moment to breathe, to drink some water, especially like try to have some water and try to just kind of start the day in a more calm manner because we're always rushing, and that rush, our nervous system feels it. So that's what I would say would be a great place to start. And then also download my guide about fatigue because it has a lot of like breath work, vagus nerve stimulation tips like that can really help you get started and you do start feeling better.
Great. I love that. That's so easy. It's one of those things. Take a couple minutes before you jump out of bed, because I find myself doing that. My alarm goes off and I'm like, all right, time to go.
A lot of the times, honestly, it is easy things, but it's just having the knowledge and sometimes having somebody there pushing you to actually implement these changes, because sometimes we need that hand holding.
And we don't realize how it's actually a bad habit for us because, we get up, we jump, and we go, go, go. Create a new habit. Start your day in a calm manner. I love that.
Yeah. Me too. It makes a difference.
How can everybody find you? Where's your website, social media links?
My company's called MindBody Restored. So you can find me on Instagram at MindBody Restored. And then my website is mindbodyrestored.org.
Okay.
And yeah, we can message me. I always write back to everybody. I really love communicating with people and helping in any way that I can. So you can find me. I'm very active there on Instagram.
Great. I'll drop those links in the show notes so they can connect with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This was great.
Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for listening. Today we had on our special guest, Dr. Jaday Garcia. We talked about nervous system regulation, chronic stress, and PCOS, and how women develop symptoms that we believe to be perimenopause, and we just keep pushing through. Please check the show notes to connect with Dr. Garcia. Be sure to tune in to episode 25. We are going to be talking about the negative effects of Botox. You don't want to miss this one. And always remember, you deserve to love the skin you're in.